was a movie and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Dad's Dating After Divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval. I am your host, and my co-host here is...
My name is Ralph, but I go by the pen name DSO, which stands for Dad Starting Over. I'm the founder of dadstartingover.com and author of several books, including the popular Dead Bedroom Fix.
Oh, man, Ralph, you always remember to promote yourself, and I always forget to promote myself. I am the founder of the Divorce Advocate, a website that helps dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. And we've got a great show today. Our topic is, or actually the title is, Are You a Tom Brady? And we're going to get into that in just a minute, but I want to introduce our guest today, Ralph, and that is those men are that you see and hear are the Mad Men of Masculinity from Mad Men Radio right here in my hometown of Denver, Colorado on KLDC 1220 AM. Jason B., Kendrick, and Kirk. Hey, Kirk, you don't have your M up there. Kirk M.
You're right,
Samuels.
I know, man. He's
Man, you
throwing you
got me
curveballs
trained.
already. I know, man. I didn't know there was homework.
Welcome, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. So we're talking about this Tom Brady divorce, Tom Brady and Gisele Bundchen. If you're living under a rock, or maybe you're listening from somewhere else in the world, Tom Brady is probably one of the greatest of all time American football players. Has been in the league for, I think, 22 years, something like that, 12, 14, 15 Pro Bowls and 4 or 5 or 6 Super Bowl titles and MVPs, and just an amazing athlete, net worth of over $400 million. Gisele, they've been married about 13 years, I believe, or were married 13 years. She was or is still, I guess, a supermodel. That then they had 2 kids together, and then apparently things have gone south. So let's just start with the Mad Men's take on what's going on with this. I know I've got a few ideas of my own, but Jason, what are your thoughts? You're sharing something a little bit when we're offline starting out here.
Well, to try to be a good guest, I tried to do a little bit of research, but of course, when I got on
after
YouTube,
your nap,
after my nap, I have to have my old man nap. I did a little bit of research, but of course, the kind of feminist leading narrative was that Gisele gave up everything for Tom, and he said that he was only going to play 10 more years after they got together. Then it's been 13 years, and he retired. Then he turned around and said he was playing again. So yeah, from that perspective, from what I was seeing, it looks like, okay, well, there was just a difference of opinion and whatnot. But honestly, I cannot tell because I'm not there. But one of the things I did really pick up on was the fact that he is definitely one of those. He wants to be the greatest of all time. He's driven. Football is probably the most important thing to him. And he even says that if it's not about football, he doesn't really care, kind of thing. Like, football is the most important thing. And if you marry somebody like that, you have to accept that that's who they are. And I think this comes down to another one of those things where he may have had good intentions and said, well, I'm only going to play 10 years and only go for 1 Super Bowl. And then he's like, oh, maybe I can be the greatest of all time. And he's got that drive and mindset. So he is who he is. And I think she kind of realized that she couldn't change him like maybe she thought. What do you think, Kirk?
Kirk, you agree with that? Or
yeah,
so, okay. It's not like this guy stopped changing over 13 years. It's like he stopped loving football. And it seems to me, and from all indications through their relationship, that he's been a pretty active and involved father. He was married once before. He's got a son from that marriage. That son's been integrated with their new children, and it's kind of like they've done that co-parenting thing with Bridget Moynihan, and they've brought families together. He talks about his kids all the time. If you listen to his podcast, he talks about his kids, and they're pretty involved. And so, Kirk, this guy's not just a footballer who's possessed about playing football all the time and is just tuned out everything else. He's an active father. He cares. And so, what else could she possibly really want? I understand that she's saying, oh, well, he said he was going to retire. He's not going to retire now. I mean,
yeah, I think in the big picture, probably the big takeaway for all of us is that no one's immune, right? No one's immune to having to balance everything on every side of life, and no one's immune to even in the pursuit and journey of success and being the greatest and all those kinds of things, still having the home life to balance and still being able to maintain all of those kinds of things. It's not easy. It's hard. Just in the last year or two, besides Tom Brady, we've seen Jeff Bezos, marriage fall apart. We've seen Bill Gates, marriage fall apart. I mean, it's one of those things that, us as men, I think sometimes it does come down to, maybe it's a bigger question of, can we do it all? Can we have it all? Can you pursue, every level of success and greatness in every capacity and still, and still achieve success and all those things? I don't know. It's a rhetorical question, but it's kind of like that scene in Castaway, when he was on the raft, but the volleyball started to get away and he jumped off the raft trying to get the volleyball. And sometimes we got to choose, what's more important, your raft or your volleyball. Maybe we can't have it all, but either way, in the big picture, I think, if nothing else, it's an eye opener that none of us are immune to the ups and downs of life, including, the challenges in relationships and the primary relationships in our home.
Right. Which is, goes to our title, which is, are you a Tom Brady too? And are we immune to that? Jason brought up an interesting point about the feminist perspective on this. And then Kirk also brought up the perspective about after 13, 15, however many years, many of these high achieving men have had a wife that said, I'm just done. I'm just done. So, man, what do we do? Like, what do we do as men if we're missional? Our masculine nature in general is missional. We want to try to balance that, like Kirk said, as fathers and as husbands or boyfriends or whatever your relational status is. But how do we look out for that? How do we balance that? This just seems like these women after a certain period of time just go, yeah, I was kind of into it in the beginning, but now after a decade or whatever, it's just, boring or not that interesting, or I'm looking for something else. Apparently Gisele's dating some jiu-jitsu guy now. I mean, it's literally weeks after, right? So that's another interesting component.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this begs the question of, I wonder if she was less of a uber successful supermodel type, if their chances of success would have increased. This is kind of a politically incorrect, really kind of a touchy subject, but if she had fewer options financially in life, would she have been hooked to this man more securely as opposed to a woman who's got hundreds of millions in the bank and looks like $1 million? I mean, for goodness sakes, they're two of the most attractive human beings on the planet.
Right.
I don't think that helps things. And the money thing doesn't help things. So it's kind of interesting when we say, man, if it could happen to these people, it could happen to any of us. I think the case could be made that if there's a couple for where it's most likely to not work out, they may be the poster children for that. Two people very much not dependent on each other financially, two people who could go get anyone they want sexually, I guess, if you want to say that. Right. Boy, it's going to take a lot of work to keep them together. And you got a guy who's like, I'm very mission driven and I'm gone a lot of the time. And good luck, wife. Hope you enjoy the time with the kiddos and everything else. But hey, I got my mission, it is what it is. None of us know what the hell's going on behind the scenes. But I think just on the surface, any kind of therapist type person would look at that and go, good freaking luck, dude. This is going to be tough. And the fact they made it work for 13 years, that's pretty good. So I don't know what the tipping point was. It does seem to be the whole retiring and unretiring thing. seems to be it. I don't know, to be quite honest with you. And there was rumors of a dead bedroom situation. I don't know if you had read that, where it was instigated by him. I read that in some news article, that in divorce papers or something like that, she cited a bedroom issues, and she wasn't getting her needs met. He wasn't around. He was absent. There was no physical intimacy anymore between them. Who knows what's going on there, but kind of interesting.
It sounds like another case of kind of two high performers, two kind of one percenters who have goals and have dreams and want to be top performers, not being able to step down. Maybe in looking at the interviews and things she did, she was like, well, I gave up my career. I gave up these things to be the stay-at-home mom and to take care of the kids. And he was only going to play for so long, and then he decided not to. And I think it may have come down to, she thought they had an agreement where she was going to support him, and then he was going to turn around and support her as she went back to do whatever. I'm not sure, being a mother of 3 or 2 when going back to being a supermodel. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know. Most of the evidence goes the other direction, but maybe she has other irons in the fire. But it just seems like there was a feeling of they both thought they had an agreement, and then some minds got changed because they didn't follow the path they had agreed upon. But of course, not being there, not knowing, I just see, we actually did an episode recently about expectations, and one of the things I posted on that or talked about was maybe not going for the 10, because that has a whole lot of baggage. That 1 percenter or that 10 person, there's a lot that goes with that you may not be able to handle. Maybe look for a 6, 7, or 8 who's still fairly attractive, but will appreciate you more. And it has less of the baggage and less of the risks of somebody else trying to swoop in all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. There's a phenomenon that's relatively new. Actually, it's not new as far as taking place, but it's new as far as it's so stinking obvious now, which is we have a relatively small number of men getting all the women. Mm-hmm. And we see that in the online dating world, where, and the people that run like OkCupid put out a whole bunch of data in regards to this, which was very interesting. And they showed that, wow, a very, very small percentage of men, and all the women are like, I'm going for that upper echelon dude. Mm-hmm. And the story for a lot of those women, by their older, more wise women in their life, say, sweetheart, he has a lot of women at his disposal. You're trying to nab a guy who could get he has dozens of women that are calling on him, and good luck. If he's a multi-billionaire on a private jet flying all over the place and he's got women jumping all over him, you as the potential partner to that guy, your work just went up exponentially. Always got to look your best. Always got to be worried about the other woman. So yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. It's good freaking luck if you try to get with the 1 percenter, not necessarily the best partner candidate, long-term partner candidate.
Yeah. But to my understanding, she made more than him, right? So we're initially, not talking about we're not talking about a scenario where started from the bottom and now we're at the top, and neither she didn't have anything, and and all that kind of stuff. She was just the woe is me, just the poor little mom sitting at home, and she made the sacrifice for the family and all that kind of stuff. I mean, she had a thriving career. She's a freaking supermodel, right? So in this scenario, back to the point of, man, nobody really needs each other. Like, in that relationship dynamic, it's like, to your point, I can get whoever I want. Well, really, so can I. I can fly here and there. I got my career. Well, really, so do I. And so then it comes down to, who's it more important to in terms of, okay, maybe we need kind of a relationship timeout here. Maybe we need to reset this thing and figure out, what our relationship priority is. We're in this marriage, but we're miserable. And, me, I'm a 2-time, full disclosure, I'm a 2-time offender when it comes to divorce. And it's a completely miserable situation to be in, where you're with somebody and you're married to somebody, but everybody's miserable. You're in a paper relationship, but there's no connection. Right. And so, even if you're going different directions and traveling different parts of the world and all those kinds of things, pursuing your own thing, it's still a miserable situation to be in. And then, normally at some point, somebody says something, calls out the elephant in the room. And, that can kind of be the beginning of the end. I think the whole unretiring was like him saying, okay, fine, I hear you. Let's get together. Let's do the therapy counseling and we'll make this whole thing happen. And then it was like, wait a minute, I'm a NFL quarterback, right? This is who I am. So without that, now what? And a lot of those athletes have an identity crisis once they retire anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, where do you find your identity? And in this case, guys, since we're all guys and primarily we're even talking about a guy, where do you find your identity? Where do you find your purpose? Where do you find your priority? And I think in that case, man, he retired for a minute and he did a couple of trips to the grocery store and, and he was like, all right, man, now what, and so, I mean, this is, it's a lot of complexities, I would imagine, in that scenario.
So you both bring up a really interesting point in the context of modern dating, right? In the fact that, all right, she was a supermodel, but she's also dating, Ralph said, a great looking guy, just highly successful, engaged father, et cetera. Is she going to really do better than that? I mean, is it not? Is she going to get out in that dating world and really be able to do better than Tom Brady? And I put that in the context of, do women really need men anymore? Because she made her own money, they make their own money, and if we're out there in the dating world, and then Jason talked about you guys' episode on expectations. Maybe there's something we need to be doing a little bit better in our communication up front about. Either in our communication up front with who we're dating, or in our values and in our beliefs of what we want when we get into a relationship, and clearly convey those. And that might, Jason talked about, instead of looking for the 10s, look for the 6 to 8. They're going to appreciate you more, but maybe that's also like, the world out there is saying, go out and achieve and become a supermodel or become your CEO of whatever. But what I want is, I want a family and I want traditional values. I want to be the bread earner. I want to be missional. I want you to be about the house and the home, et cetera. And while that might sound, I don't think it sounds misogynistic. I think that's fine if that's what you are setting the expectations up for up front.
Yeah, I think there's such a big push towards independence on both sides. Men have kind of had that, independent Lone Ranger streak for a long time, and we'll suck it up and be okay. And now the ladies are getting there. You go, girl, be a boss, babe, and go be independent and make your money. Well, with two independent people who don't have an interdependent mindset, then it's all me, me, me. I thought one thing that was interesting was looking at the divorce statements when Tom was saying, well, my wife and I were ending this amicably, and we're going to work with the kids and be co-parents and everything. And she said, well, my kids and my ex, and it was all about her. And so I think that was part of maybe that catalyst to destruction for them, was that they're both, high achievers and high earners, but it's all about them and their achievements. And so I think she could only stay on the sideline so long before she's like, I've got to go, make my mark again and become Gisele again and all those things. But I mean, that's something you got to look at when you're getting into these relationships. But for the rest of us normal folks, I would say getting into relationships under the mindset of interdependence, of serving the relationship, serving the family. If you're going in there with a lot of this, what am I going to get? And Kirk and I talk about it quite a bit. Are you going into this relationship out of a mindset of service? How am I going to serve my partner? How am I going to serve this family and this relationship? If you're going into it with what am I getting out of it, then you're both at a detriment. You're going to bleed each other dry instead of adding to that well and making, all boats rise, as it were.
So, Ralph, do you think Gisele's going to have a big wake-up call when she gets out in the dating world?
No. Gisele will be just fine.
Yeah.
She may not get married again, but she'll have plenty of dates.
Yeah, she'll be just fine. Yeah.
She'll do the J-Lo thing and have like 5 different husbands.
There,
and some of them twice.
Are we in a roundabout way exposing something that's not so nice to say about the institution of marriage, at least what it was in the past, which was it was based very much upon the dynamic of I, woman, in the case of the past so many generations, need you, man. That's why this bond is strong. As long as that need is there, and then we will remain a couple. And well, what prevented women from saying, I don't need you anymore? Well, there was social constraints, such as if I'm a woman and I divorce, I'm a social pariah. In the 1950s, 60s, whatever, a single mother. Oh, good Lord. Right. No, I can't do that. No one will ever want to be with me. I'll die alone and I'll die starving, and no one will be able to take care of my kids. that kept them within the marriage, working a little harder in the marriage. Financially, I need him. There was no such thing as necessarily alimony and child support. And what if I don't get to see my children? I won't be taken care of. So we've torn down a lot of those constraints, those walls around this marriage, and voila, I'll be damned. Divorce has gone through the roof, and a lot of people are saying, why am I in this institution again? What do I get out of it? And what are the benefits? And women, and it doesn't hurt, or it doesn't help rather, that women are now making more money than ever. The college grads are more women than men, and all kinds of stuff. So
and they're incentivized to get divorced nowadays too, because the state incentivizes them, alimony, child support, all the different things. So I mean, for them, it looks like a good deal. They see their girlfriends getting divorced, and now she's making more money and living a better lifestyle after the guy. So she thinks she can do it, not thinking about all the work and everything else that goes into it as well.
Right. And divorce, as we know, divorce is catchy.
It's like a virus. Yeah.
I went through a divorce myself, and I don't think it was a coincidence that shortly after my wife left the home, the neighbor on this side left her husband, and then shortly thereafter, the neighbor on this side, I'm not joking, on either side of us got divorced. I don't think that was a coincidence.
So
they stoke each other's fire.
Yeah, well, very interesting points there, which is, so we've removed these social barriers around it, and so they don't now have these kind of guardrails socially, and they don't need us to take care of them. But what about the needs that they have mentally, emotionally, and within a relationship? Those that have not gone away.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing that aspect of that too. Go ahead, Kirk.
And I think, it does come down to needs. Do I need you, and do you need me? And in my mind, my thought, my philosophy is, I think we should need each other. Not need like air, maybe need like air conditioning, where, I can live, but man, my life is dope with you in it, kind of thing. And so when you get to the point where your needs no longer align in terms of your relationship, then that's when things begin to disintegrate, and somebody begins to say, well, you know what, maybe I can. It happens with every single boy band. Every single rock band. When we don't need each other anymore, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, maybe I can go out and do my little solo career kind of thing. And again, in this scenario, neither one of them really needed each other. I don't think either one of them still need each other. And I'm pretty sure, they'll figure out, or they've already figured out, the whole parenting situation, the property stuff. They don't, I'll go out and buy a house just like the one, better than the one we got now. We got nannies and we got all this other kind of stuff. And so a lot of things that us normal folk might argue about in court, they don't have to worry about that kind of stuff because they don't need each other in that kind of way. But I think relationally speaking, when your needs no longer align, then, maybe it's somewhat natural, but unfortunate for somebody that one or both to say, why are we here? Why are we doing this? And maybe that's just a natural outflow.
Yeah. I'd see a lot of times, when we look at the Institute of Marriage as it began, it was a survival need. And now it's no longer a survival need. So now it becomes more of a interdependent need, choice. So you have to choose. Like I was watching somebody talk about, I choose to love her. So that even when she's being chaotic, or even when I'm not right, we still choose to love each other. And that's what we're seeing, is a lot of this fairy tale Disney starstruck lover syndrome mentality isn't panning out. And so anytime there's any rocky waters, they choose to bounce instead of working on the relationship and actually creating a deeper foundation for interdependence and choosing to need each other and love each other. And it's because they have this idea of, from romantic comedies and Disney, oh, well, if anything happens, if there's any arguments or any, strife, then there must be something wrong. Maybe he's not the one or she's not the one. And so now it's going towards more of we need to choose and be very open about choosing that. We know that there's going to be these dramas and different dynamics that we need to work through. And that's going to create that love that we think we're supposed to get instantaneously nowadays, but we actually have to create it through interdependence and choosing to love each other in that way.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Jason, basically what you're saying is the institution of marriage until recently has been more transactional. We needed to enter into that transaction because we needed to survive. We need to figure out ways to get along and do it together. Now we've kind of don't need that quite as much. And so we've gone to the other end of the spectrum, which is, all right, we don't need each other from that transactional perspective. So I guess, Ralph, I'll ask you, do you think this will help to move back maybe to the middle where we're looking at this in more of a holistic, maybe to take a religious term, a covenant type relationship where we're actually looking to have it be something that is deeper and intimate and interpersonal, like Jason was talking about?
Yeah, I do predict we will see kind of the pendulum swing to far more traditional conservative types of relationships here in the future. I think when we see the breakdown and this ain't working for anybody, I think we'll see an upsurgence where it will kind of be the cool hip thing to do just that. But back to the original point of the current state of marriage is relatively new, where my partner is my best friend in the whole world, my lover, my caregiver, my et cetera. That didn't exist for many generations. It just used to be, we just have an agreement, we raise some kids and that's it, right? And we're just going to stick it out through all this. Now we have to take care of all these different things, spokes on the wheel. That's relatively new. And voila, it's really, really hard to pull off. When one of those spokes doesn't work quite right, we're like, oh shit, this just must not be.
And there's other aspects too that we tend to forget about. Is back in the day, a lot of times marriages were arranged, so they were chosen. And it's interesting, you look at the statistics, arranged marriages tend to work out a whole lot more than these Western marriages nowadays. But there's also, like you're talking about the spokes on the wheel, there was also mother, father, grandparents, aunts, uncles. There was a whole village keeping everybody together and in line, and you had this whole village of people working together. And now we're all on our own, and like you said, realizing, oh, that's a lot of work. How can I do all this all on my own? Or how can even we two just do this together? And then you throw in the kind of feminist narratives and we don't need each other and everybody's hyper independent. It just all falls apart.
Yeah, we kind of went from I'm talking, maybe this is, I don't know, anthropology or whatever the term is for I went to public school, so forgive me if I don't know all the right stuff to say, but the study of kind of humanity back in the day. But, gradually speaking, in terms of history, a lot of times these marriages, whether arranged or not, were role based. Now they're more soul based in terms of, it's not so much I'm looking for, she's looking for a provider, protector per se. And he's looking for, want someone to fulfill the domestic and family kind of things. It's not so much what is your role in the relationship or in the marriage. It's for my soulmate. And I'm looking for somebody that helps amplify and magnify who I am on the inside, not what I need on the outside. And so, but that I don't know that transition has completely happened yet. So I think we're still in terms of generations. And so I think we're still kind of caught in the middle of all of that. Like, okay, hey, Tom, I don't need you. I don't need your money. I don't need your status. I'm not impressed by, your stadiums full of people with Super Bowl rings. Have you seen me on a runway? Like, I mean, do you know that I'm a freaking Brazilian supermodel? Like, who's the lucky one here? And I think from his perspective, like most guys, the older we get, I'm not so much looking for just the hot chick. Like, there's got to be more than that, right? I need some peace in my life. I need somebody that's going to complement, the things that I might be doing in terms of my bigger mission as a man. And so all those things kind of feed into the soul of who I am. And so I don't know that transition has completely happened yet from role to soul, but either way, I think, it's really complex in terms of what each other is looking for in terms of that relationship and what the current marriage looks like these days.
Well, so then how do we reconcile what you just said with the role, the role to soul, but also with what Ralph said earlier, which is that book Dataclysm from the founder of OkCupid, where he talks about all these statistics that there's the small percentage of men getting all of the women. How do you reconcile that? Because to me, that's a contradiction, right?
We also have access. We also have access to more people than we have over history. I mean, when has there ever been a generation that can meet a mate by swiping. Right. I mean, like I remember the first time I joined a dating app, I was like, oh my God. I mean,
Right.
I was like
So
a fat
many.
kid at a buffet,
It's
man.
like
I mean,
Candyland, right?
I was like a chubby kid at Golden Corral, man. Like I have the big kid in Willy Wonka's factory, man. I'm eating it all. I'm like, dude, I mean, it was ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
Gluttonous completely. So there's never been a generation that has had access to so many other people. I mean, outside of my circle, outside of my people that I interact with. And so, I mean, again, those complexities, man, it just makes it, I mean, exponentially more difficult to just stay single-minded in the context of a relationship.
Yeah, and there's just way too many options. I mean, you look at before social media, what was the number one factor in relationships? It was proximity, location, location, location. Now you have this little device in your hand and you can go looking for trolling all over the world. You can go look on dating apps all over the world. You can, the women in America are too troublesome, so I can go to Thailand and Singapore or, Brazil and Colombia. There's too many options, and like most of us, we have too many options. We just get brain fried. We don't have any real focus anymore.
Right. But Rob, how do we, so I understand all that and I agree with all that, but how do we reconcile that 20% of the guys are getting 80% of the women if what Kirk says is that they're looking from role to soul? Because it doesn't feel like that, right? If they're only looking for the top 20%, they're the greatest looking guys, the highest achieving guys and whatnot, right?
Yeah, here's the sad thing. If they're in fact going for a relatively small percentage of men as being the ideal mate, then that means if those women end up in long-term monogamous relationships, they probably, quote, settled.
Mm-hmm.
How many of us want to know that we're the dude that they settled for?
Right.
You're not Mr. Dreamboat. Your number probably 18 on the list, or probably even lower than that, to be honest. And I picked you. Why? Be a good provider for me. Probably be a good dad. How many of us are like, I can live with that. That's cool. I talk to a lot of men who discover that later in life.
Right.
They're in a very cold, dead bedroom type of marriage. And they discover that their wife used to be a pretty hot thing in the past and never has been so with him. And when they go to the counseling and everything else, they discover, oh, wow, I didn't fit the bill for what she found in an ideal mate. She settled for me. And that's heartbreaking for a lot of dudes. And how do we reconcile that? What's the grand solution to that? I don't know.
Well, I guess we just have to start dating younger and making sure we lay down the foundation, because I mean, the wall is a real thing and it's been coming out quite a bit now. Even the ladies start to pick up on it, that there is a wall, there is a hard wall, a hard point of where their sexual marketplace value starts to drop exponentially. And if they've already had kids and already been ran through, then any intelligent, self-respecting man will probably stay away from them. So, I mean, I don't know that there's any real answer or fix to the issue, but you can definitely see what's playing out. And there's going to be a lot of ladies who maybe will be happy to settle, but, it's not going to be happy for the guys. But that's the question you need to ask. Like, well, why now? Like, why are you choosing me? Because to your point, I think a lot of guys have been sold a bill of goods. Oh no, I love you. You're the best thing. And it's just all perfect and everything. Then later on down the road, they find out she's settled. And for some reason, settling is like the worst word in the world.
I was just going to say, why is that bad?
Yeah, I don't understand. Well, and Kirk and I talk about it a lot. You each should settle for each other in certain ways. It should be a mutually beneficial relationship, and there should be some compromise. But I don't know what it is about. It's just like submission. I made a post the other day, or commented on a post, and said men are looking for agreeable, submissive women. If you want a masculine man, they want you to be agreeable, submissive. And one lady's like, those are fighting words. You can't say those words. I'm like, I'll say whatever words I want to, but you take it however you feel like it.
Now back to the original question: what's the resolution for all of this? History has shown us what the resolution is. It's from the beginning of time. Men go in the gladiator ring, duke it out, and whoever ends up, alive at the end, you get all the prizes. It's a dramatic way of saying you level up as a man. So, I'm not in the upper echelon. My ass better get to work so I can eventually win the prize of the lady, so to speak.
Maybe each one of us should at least get to the point where we are in the upper echelon of some echelon.
There you go.
I mean, compared to Tom Brady, yeah, I'm not that tall. I'm not that, that wealthy, that rich, that good looking, all that kind of stuff. I'm but
don't
at the
sell
same
yourself short.
time, oh, no. I mean, I'm clear. Like, I know where I'm at. I'm good with where I'm at, and where I am is at the top of the best that I can be. But to your point, though, Ralph, we absolutely have to level up. I mean, when I was 55 pounds heavier, when I was addicted to porn, when I was just not doing anything, not caring about anything, but satisfying, my most primal boyish needs, when I was living on my boy and not living like a man, then guess what? I am kind of in the JV level, and not even that, Pop Warner even of men. But when I kind of get my poop in a group, and when I say, okay, how do I level up as a man? How do I become the best man that I can be? And when I became the best man that I feel like I can be, or continually working on that, then all of a sudden I'm like, well, wait a minute, man. When I walk into a room, I mean, I feel different. I move different. I operate different. But I also understand that, like, the woman in my life, she ain't settling at all. And when I'm with her, I don't feel like I'm settling at all, because we're freaking happy, man. We got peace, we got love, we got all the goodness, man. I mean, it's a pretty dope scenario. But to your point, we do have to level up as men. You can't be where you are and trying to aim for the Gisele Bundchens in life. She's going to be all right because Bill Gates is single, right? I mean, and so, but don't come at Gisele if you can't fly at that altitude. So whatever altitude you are, you're at the top of that altitude. But we do have to seek the highest altitude in which we can fly.
Well, and women are going to react to that. They're going to react to that, and they can sniff out when you've got that weakness. When you're not doing that, you're going to get lost in that mix. You're going to be that 80% that is going, okay, who can I look for that's going to settle for me? Right.
Yeah. And what's sad is that while we're all preaching the validity of this level up, and it's something that I preach all the time to men, like, get your ass to work. That's what this life's all about. Even, take women out of the picture. You should still try to strive to be whatever the hell you want to be, and you have a mission in life and improve yourself. But what is sad is that a reaction I get back from a lot of men is, it ain't worth it, dude. It ain't, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. It's just a lot of work and a lot of banging my head against the wall for what exactly? So does that shine a light on the quality of women is such that it's not worth it? Or does that shine a light on men are averse to work?
Well,
but
it's probably a bit of both.
It shouldn't be about women. I mean, women are not the entree; they're the dessert.
Exactly.
I mean, we shouldn't. I mean, we are freaking men. We should be creating legacy. We should be making this world a better place. Our communities should be better. I mean, our neighborhood should be better. Our whatever, your church should be better. Your office should be, your whatever it is. I mean, because we should be living out of that virtue as men, as opposed to just pursuing, some tits and ass, right? I mean, that's the low hanging fruit. And so that's the why. The why is not women. Women come along with the why, but they are not the women. I mean, they are not the why.
Yeah. So how do you get that, Jason? I'll give this to you. How do you get that message through to a generation of men that have been raised by single parents, mostly single mothers, who pedestalize women? You're not missional, and I'm speaking from experience, right? This was my experience. This is what happened with me. This is what it took my divorce and the train wreck of my life having to come down and say, well, this was all a fallacy. This was wrong. I need to completely reframe my thinking and redesign my entire life. How do you get that? Like Ralph said, it's like, wow, that's a lot.
Well, and even to Kirk's point, what tends to happen when you do focus on yourself to make yourself the best man you can be, and you don't put women as your primary target, primary focus, or why, they tend to start following you. They tend to, like, it's almost like it's the trick to the game. And I mean, for a lot of us, I mean, I had the same thing. My parents divorced when I was 7, and then I lived with mom for a while, and then I went and lived with dad, and I was raised with the same nice guy syndrome and everything. But getting around guys and learning these things, like reading Nice Guys, No More Mr. Nice Guy and The Way of the Superior Man and Love Is Not Enough. And, all these different books and all these different things, joining men's groups and men's forums to become the better man and do that for yourself. And not because there's so many guys, I think, to Ralph's point, when you ask a guy why he's not doing anything, he says the juice is not worth the squeeze because he's still thinking about getting a woman. If he does it for himself to make himself the best man he can be and doesn't care whether he gets the woman or not, just so he can feel better and be have more self-respect, more energy, do something more that he loves in his life. What's really interesting is when you do those things and you stop caring about the women, they can smell it and they show up. Yep. But what I find, though, a lot of times when Kirk and I experience quite a bit because we work with the men's group, but we also partner and host and do different single socials groups in the area. A lot of the single mothers, they smell that like it's candy and come running for you. And so you have to be very clear and keep your boundaries up because they will snatch onto that very quickly. So you got to make sure your purpose is your power and you keep that your power. Or otherwise, they'll wait at the finish line like a lot of ladies and try to snatch your gold medal.
Right. Which is, that's the nature of the intersexual dynamics in dating and women. They're watching us compete and waiting to see who wins. And then that's who they're going to go after. Yeah. Which is okay. But you got to be,
that's just the hypergamous nature of the world. Yeah.
That's just the way we're designed, right? It's the way God designed us and designed women to do that. So, which brings up the next point I want to talk about is, do you think that, so Gisele's dating again, just literally weeks after, do you think women get over it faster than men, get over relationship breakups and divorces faster than men do?
Yes and no. They plan it out. Like she knew she was getting divorced a year before she got divorced. And she was probably already putting out feelers to find somebody. For guys, it seems to always be the surprise. Like, oh, I didn't know everything seemed fine. It's because she was letting you think everything was fine, and while she planned her escape. And there's a lot of evidence to that. Most times, ladies know they're leaving long before they leave.
Yeah, I think they might move on faster, but I think men move on longer and better. And I say that because more often than not, when I think of not only my life, but other people that I know, and I know a lot of guys and a lot of couples that have gone through divorce, in most cases, the man is in a long-term stable relationship, if not remarried before the ex-wife. And so, yeah, she might have pivoted to go get what it is that she was desperate for, which is maybe some attention from a guy, somebody that cared more about her than his thing. So she can, most women can go get something real quick, but get something that's going to keep and last and all that kind of stuff. Nah, that's a little bit different. But I think guys, especially when we do it right, especially when we have something to offer, I think more often than not, we're the ones to move on to something more stable and more long-term first within that breakup or after that breakup.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, and I want to summarize this, is that we're saying women, because they're the ones to initiate a breakup or divorce usually, and this is supported by research that 70% of women initiate divorces, that they've taken the time to mentally and emotionally think about this to some extent, maybe not to the extent that men would, because I think oftentimes we see what you just described then, that men will be behind the eight ball initially because they haven't had that time to mentally, emotionally work through it. Women have, they get back in the game, then they might see, oh, like I didn't maybe think through this all the way, but men then take the time, think it out, take a little bit longer to get back in the game, and then do it in maybe a healthier fashion to where they're more successful in a long-term relationship. Is that kind of a
that would make sense, because ladies are emotional thinkers and men are linear logical thinkers for the most part. So yeah, once we get burned, we'll go, well, I don't want that to happen again. How do I fix this? And what do I do differently in the future? Whereas she may just be riding the roller coaster of emotion and then realize, oh, well, that didn't work. Now I'm on this other emotional roller coaster, but there's not a lot of let's stop and figure this out, I don't think. But I see some women kind of come into terms with it, and most of our audience on the Mad Men podcast is women, so I think they're starting to figure it out and want to learn as well. But yeah, I think initially there's definitely an emotional aspect to it, so they don't think it through. But guys tend to get burned and fix it and come back better than they were the first time.
And I think
so that's the encouragement to a lot of guys, man. And I mean, Ralph, bless you for what you're doing, man. I mean, and obviously you too, Jude. I mean, just the message to guys that it's going to be okay, right? I mean, that it's going to be okay. We'll get through it. There's no need to cancel. There's no need to to be on Dateline, NBC, or nothing like that, or whatever that show is. I mean, it's going to be okay, right? And so, when we come together, when we circle up, we lock our shields together, like the phalanx picture, and we do this as guys, and we say, man, it's going to be all right. And, and in the long run, you'll probably end up, in some ways, in a lot of ways, in the deepest ways, better off. But I totally think, yeah, a woman can get a man. Most women can get a man. But not all of them. And matter of fact, most of them can't get a long-term man or a relationship. I mean, that's the difficult thing for them to do. And so us on the back end, it might be difficult for us to get a woman, but we kind of control the access to relationship. And so we can get relationship, probably a lot faster and a lot more linear approach than women.
Yeah. And Jude, we talked about this before in a previous podcast, how a lot of men erroneously say women have it so much easier in the dating world than us men do. And the reason men say that is because they see the access to sexual partners for women is obviously so much bigger, because they can just literally open their door and say, who wants this? And some jackass is going to come running, right? And us men don't have that luxury. But ask those same women and they'll say, well, that's not necessarily what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that good all-around dude to settle down with. And I can't find the freaking guy for nothing. I can find a lot of guys who want to sleep with me, sure, but the other, no, forget it. So yeah, it's tough for them out there.
Yeah, I've had the conversation with a lot of the ladies in the singles, and they don't like to hear it, but I give it to them straight. Like, you're a single mother with kids in the home, and if you want adult time, you may be looking at a friendship/lover relationship until your kids are out of the house. Unless, if he wants to have the same thing and he has kids, you can do a blended family, stuff like that. That's something you can do, but it's a lot of times, in the majority of the time, he may not be looking for that. He may not want to come in and be stepdad or whatever. So sometimes you have to just settle for the fact that you can still have your adult time. It's going to be every other weekend, and you're not going to have the romantic Harry Met Sally thing all the time. You're just going to get to hang out when your schedule allows. And that could be okay, but you have to make it okay and accept the fact it's not going to be all sunshine and butterflies like you were taught.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point, Jason, because I've been in the post-divorce dating world now for about a decade, and that is a brutal wake-up call for women. It is a brutal wake-up call for women to all of a sudden then be like, oh, I'm not early 20s, and I don't have every guy going, I want to marry you. It's like what Ralph said. It's like, yeah, I'll call you tomorrow, right? And then and it's sad. It's very sad to see the state of mind and how unhappy and miserable they are, because they've bought this whole hook, line, sinker, feminist mentality, go girl thing, everything else, and now they're dating again. They've got kids, and it's completely different than what they've been. It's the same as my mind. My mind shift change that had to happen, and yeah, it's brutal. It's tough. It's brutal.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough pill to swallow.
Just ironically, it just hit me as you said that, man, and it's kind of profound. But as we record this on today, exactly this date, 6 years ago, I was walking out of court after my second divorce. With my second divorce, just literally today. It just hit me.
Well, happy anniversary.
The date, what the date is today. And
call it divorceries.
Divorceries or something these days. And I can honestly say that, on all the measurables of my life, I am better off than I was 6 years ago, although I'm 6 years older, for what that's worth, value wise. My back might hurt a little bit more, but all the measurables of life, man. And it's, I just see things different. I value things different. I experience things different, just at a different place, man. And I can tell you that relationally, I've probably had a better journey relationally. It's been some turbulence in the last 6 years than my ex-wife has probably in her last 6 years. And so, yeah, I mean, it kind of walks out everything that we're just talking about right now.
Yeah. So let's wrap it up with this. And I want to go around to each one of you and answer the question, are we all a Tom Brady? And yes or no, and what's the positive of that, whether we are or we're not? Ralph, you want to start us out?
Am I a Tom Brady? I think maybe I'm a Tom Brady in my little silo, my little world, in terms of what I have a mission, and I'm very proud of that mission. I'm very hyper focused on that mission, and I got a lovely wife, and I love her to death. Am I current Tom Brady going through all of his current drama? I certainly hope not, but I guess that you're looking at what, just the general category of who he is.
Yeah, and perhaps that's part of the point too, is we're all a Tom Brady in the respect that we just don't know, right? Things could change. Our wife could leave, or we get a divorce, or we don't know. And we just gotta, going back to what Jason was saying, sorry, I didn't mean to hijack your finishing up here, but just to make the point, what Jason was saying, that we got to do what we got to do as men. We got to tap into that masculine nature, into our missional nature, and build that, like Robert Glover says, that cake of life, and then have somebody come in alongside of that. Hopefully that's our marriage and our wife, and we continue to cultivate that like you've done successfully for the other three of us. We're still working on figuring that out, but creating our life and then having somebody come alongside that, and also setting the tone, saying this is what our life is going to be like, right?
You got it. Exactly right.
Well, I'll jump in. No, I'm not a Tom Brady. I'm a Jason B. Kendrick, and I'll be the best Jason B. Kendrick I can be. As far as, what was the second part of that question? I guess stuck on the Tom Brady part.
What is some positive news about, a positive message about whether or not you or they are a Tom Brady?
Well, I think, comparison is the root of all, I think, self-judgment, self-hatred. So I think not comparing yourself to somebody like Tom Brady because you're not them. Compare yourself to who you used to be. I love Matthew McConaughey's, my hero is me in 10 years speech. And I think bettering yourself as a man and only comparing yourself to who you used to be is the surest way to self-respect and self-empowerment. And maybe look at those examples of a Tom Brady and what he's going through to show you that your life isn't so bad, or that even Tom Brady's going to go through it. So don't think that he's got it all won, and stay as focused as you can on yourself and make yourself the best dude you can be, and get around other guys and help them get better too. It's simple like that, but I think when you make life simple, it's much easier and better.
I like it. Kirk?
Yeah. I think I am Tom Brady in that I am twice divorced, and I got, I got kids out there kind of doing their thing and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's probably where the similarities end in a whole lot of ways, probably every other kind of way. That being said, I think I am driven. I'm probably not as career, legacy being career driven. My drive in terms of my legacy is not only professionally and mission and purpose and all those kinds of things, but I am a relationship centric kind of person. Like, I do value intimate relationships in my life, and I do place that, on the chessboard in terms of priorities. And so, you probably won't find me, I feel very comfortable saying this. You probably won't find me at any point in the future having a relationship dissolve because I am too career obsessed. That's just not me.
Well, and your mission can be relationships too, right? I mean, that can be part of it.
I think that's part of in my world, that's part of my purpose. That's part of my why. My personal mission statement is, with strength, wisdom, gentleness, and mercy, I co-create a world of intimacy and unconditional connection by teaching and inspiring 1 million men how to live free from internet pornography. Nice. That's my personal mission statement. And so buried in that is intimacy and unconditional connection. And so the best way for me to teach and inspire is to live and to experience that, and to be able to translate all those kinds of things. So, I mean, I think I am Tom Brady to a degree, but I'm completely not Tom Brady in a whole lot of different ways.
Right. Yeah. So, wow. I had to follow you, huh, Kirk? Because I don't have a mission statement for my life. That's pretty strong. But yeah, so I would say for myself, again, I'm going to echo kind of the same thing you guys talked about. I am and I'm not. Right. I am, obviously, because I'm mission oriented. I know what I want. I know where I'm going in my life. I'm obviously not. I haven't reached that pinnacle yet where I want. But I am also in the context that, hey, we just don't know what's going to happen with relationships, and we got to be really focused. I would say that, part of my mission too is similar to you, Kirk. My relationships in my life are very important to me, and so that is part of my mission and in my relationships with working with the men too. So that's all really good stuff. So I think the conclusion we came to is yes, we are, and no, we're not.
So take that.
So perfectly clear for all of you listening. Right. So if you were confused when you started listening, and you're more confused when you stopped, then you're probably not.
We were a success. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Hey, Ralph, where can anybody listening connect with you?
dadstartingover.com. And you can also find it. I just started about a month and a half ago on TikTok, of all places. I was very anti-TikTok there for a while, but now for whatever reason, I'm taking off on there. I had a couple of videos. One hit 2 million views yesterday in 24 hours. Another one hit 1 million views. And so I'm doing really well. So that's getting more eyeballs than anything else right now. So check me out on TikTok at Dad Starting Over.
Nice. And the Mad Men of Masculinity, where can the listeners listen to you guys?
Well, we're easy to find. You go to madmenradio.com. You can go to Mad Men of Masculinity on YouTube. Go to Facebook, Mad Men Radio. We're on Spotify. We're all over the place, so you can catch up on back episodes. And we're pretty easy to find as well. Beyond that, if you go to madmenradio.com, you'll get our personal websites. You'll get the KLDC website, so you can stream the radio show live. And you can get a hold of us. You can ask us questions and tell us how much you think we're full of it.
Awesome. Yeah. And you can get a hold of me at thedivorcedadvocate.com and check out the community there if you're contemplating going through or post-divorce. Jason, Kirk, Ralph, thank you so much sharing all your pearls of wisdom. Appreciate it. It was a great conversation.
Thank you, Jude.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Your own movie. If your life was a movie and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie